Hello everybody, this is Rollo with Winter Bros, and in this video presentation we're going to discuss how to use looping statements when you're doing your Daz scripting in the Scripting Made Simple series. For looping statements within Daz scripting, we're going to have two types. There's going to be one that we use for counting, which would be the for, and then for non-counting, which is basically a conditional looping, we'll be using the while and the do while statements. The first statement we're going to cover is the for statement, and basically use the for statement to count up or down a specific number of times or an expressed number of times, which means while the condition exists. And the actual format for using the for statement is for, then you got to use these open and close brackets, parentheses, a variable you defined for your starting number, a condition, which normally is when this number reaches a certain amount, change, which is going to be how much what you want to change during each loop, which normally is something to do with the variable. You either make it go up one, down one with increment, decrement, or some other value. And then of course there's the do something enclosed in the brackets, which for getting your code to keep your code together blocked, you can do one or more things each time it goes through this the for loop. And the for loop will only execute as long as this condition is true, false. I'm sorry, I meant while the condition is true, not false. So basically the for loop is going to keep going counting or doing whatever you up or down, whatever you put in there, while the condition is false, and once the condition is met, it will exit the for loop. So let's go to Daz Studio now, and let's show you how this works with an example. You can see here we've created a for statement line. So there we began with the for statement itself, and then of course inside the open and close parentheses here we have those other parameters, which we'll go ahead and show you really quick. Where the variable we're going to use for the count for the loop, the condition, and what we want to change. So we'll go back and show you that. So in this example, where variable is going to be used is going to be a, and we're going to set it initially equal to 1. You got to declare it and give it a starting count number or value, and then here we're going to, the condition is while a, basically while, as long as a is less than 11, keep doing the for loop. And at the end of each loop we're going to take the value of a and increment it by 1. Now don't forget, you can put these before or after, but we want them to go after because we want to use a as a value of 1, and then at the end change it to the next value of 2 and 3. And we'll just see if this works out for us. Now here we've strung it out on all in one line. Here's the open and close brackets down here to contain what statements we want to perform, which in this case we're just going to print a so we can see its value. So and like I said, we strung this out on one line. We're going to show you in a minute how to make it multiple lines to make it a little clearer to read. But we'll go ahead and execute this and show you how it works. And let me go ahead and pull this bar up a little bit. There you go. And you can see now we've executed the script and it counted off from 1 to 10 and then it ended. And that's because once we only wanted to count while a was less than 11. So once it reached 11, it exited the for loop. So we only get values of 1, our beginning value, through 10. So let me go ahead and show you how it would be look if we spaced it out for readability. We'll go ahead and load that in. Now here we've went ahead and spaced it out below. We kept them both inside the script, but you wouldn't want to do that. But we just wanted you to see, and then of course we recommend there inside the brackets that you tab in for a little more readability. So in this example you'd see the exact same for statement loop for counting. Then of course you'd have all the brackets below, and then again if we wanted to do more than one thing, like here we could say we could add another line or multiple statements in here. We'll just put a little fun yay in there, and then we'll go ahead and execute the let's go ahead and we'll delete the first 2 lines because we really don't need them. It's just going to count again and we don't need that. So here we're going to do the count, print the number a, say yay, and go on to the next loop through the for loop the specified number of times. And let's go ahead and change this to, let's make it something like 8 and run it that way so you can see the difference. And so we'll go ahead and run this loop, and there you go. It counted from 1 through 7 because we said while a is less than 8 up here. So you need to test your loops if you want a specific count to occur, and you can use different variable types, different conditions, and different changes. We could start at a at 8, And we could have said, like if we wanted to do a countdown, we could say while a is greater than 0. And then we could have said take a and decrement it instead of increment it because we're going to count down. So we'll go ahead and run this real quick and show you how that would work. And here you go. You can see we counted from 8 down to 1. There's our starting value was 8, so there it was. We said while a was greater than 0, so once it reached 0, it didn't print nothing. It exited the for loop. So that's how you'd use the for counting up or down in looping statements. The next two looping statements we're going to demonstrate are going to be the while and the do while. The biggest difference between the two is for the while, it only performs an action while the condition is true. So if the condition starts out as not true, nothing will happen. It won't execute at all. So when you're using a while statement, if you want something only to happen if there's a particular condition that matches, this is the one you'd use. However, for the do while, it performs the actions you specify and repeats them while the condition is true. So it will do the something one time for sure, and then if the condition is true, it'll exit, or false, it'll exit, and then so you'll always get at least one execution of your action you specify in the something section here for the do. Actually, this should say do. Well, we didn't put do something because we didn't want to be confusing with the do command. These are just inserts we put in here that do something in condition. So basically, while may or may not execute depending on the condition, and the do while will always execute at least one time while it goes through. Now we'll go over to Daz Studio and we'll show you an example of the while statement in use. Well, you can see over here we initialized the variable in apples for number of apples to 17. And we said while the number of apples is greater than 12, which is our condition, so while it's more than that, we want you to go through these statements. Print, I said only 1 dozen, please remove an apple. Then we want to decrement the number of apples. Then we're going to say we want to print, we now only have whatever number of apples in the pile. So what will happen is, it's probably going to do quite a, let's see, it should work. I got enough room on the screen here. We might have to change some numbers. Let's just say while it's greater than 14. That way I might make sure I have enough room on the screen to show all the lines. So if you look at it carefully, like I said, we're going to initialize our variable in apples 17. While in apples is greater than 14, we want to perform these statements. Actually, I'll tell you what. We'll start out with that to show you that it may not execute at all. And you can see that nothing got printed because in apples was not greater than 17 at all. It started out at 17, it wasn't greater than 17, so it skipped executing any of the statements we put in here in the do something. So, however, let's go ahead and put that back to 14 so we can show you how this actually works. And we will run the script again. There you go. So, the first time through, of course, apples was 17, so it said I only said a dozen, please remove one. We now only have 16 because we did the decrement before we printed the second print. So apples are decremented, and then it goes on and on, 15 and 14, and then once it reached 14, the condition was true, false. Apples was no longer greater than 14 once it reached 14, so it didn't loop back through again. It only did the 3 times. So sometimes when you're coding your scripts using the while statement, you might have to run them through with some test numbers to make sure they do what you want, so that you only count down or only execute, conditionally execute the loop while the condition exists that you define. You'll understand more of this the further you get into programming. And then again, of course, inside the brackets here, should have went ahead and spaced those out for you. And you can see it looks a lot more readable because then we see the brackets with what's going to happen in between. All right. We're going to go ahead and move over to the do while statement and give you an example of that. Now, don't forget, the do while is going to do something one time, and then if the condition is true, it'll repeat. Once the condition gets false, it will exit. So we'll go into Daz Studio, and we'll show you how to use the do while combination of statements. So for this little the do while example we're going to hear, we went to the shooting range, and we've been told to fire a weapon at least once until until we get the perfect shot. So that's why using the do while, you want it to execute at least one time, And then if some condition is met, keep continuing. If it's not, then exit the loop. So it's sorry about that. We missed when we copied and pasted. We missed a line. Our do while was missing the while, which will be quite important for this to run properly. So here we've set up we initialized the end number of shots fired to 0 because we hadn't fired a weapon yet. And of course we've hit the bullseye no times at all, so we're going to create a boolean saying no, it's false, we haven't hit the bullseye. So then we create a do loop, and in the do loop these statements will get executed at least one time. And inside there we said fire your weapon. We're going to increment how many shots were fired, because the first time you shoot it, it's going to go to 1. That's the first shot. And of course we set it up so we did hit the bullseye on the very first shot. And then of course the while down here says while it wants to execute while the bullseye is false, and we did hit the bullseye, so it executed the loop. So this should execute just one time. So let's go ahead and try it. Let's run the script, and there you go. You can see we fired our weapon and it said the result was true on the bullseye. So what we could do here is, since we didn't include number of shots fired, we could go ahead and put in a print statement really quick. You fired, and then we can put in there in shots fired, and then we'll just go ahead and add on at the end. I think I typed that right. Let's go ahead and run that again. So you can see in here we've says fire your weapon, you fired one time, and then of course the results were true for the bullseye. Now if we set it up so that we could set it up so that you would set your condition for different things that you want for this do while. See, we set the bullseye true right here, but we'll go back, and if we wanted to say it took us 5 shots, so if the number of shots was going to equal to 5, you could put an if statement in there. If the number of shots equals 5, then set the bullseye equal to true. So then basically we continue to loop and loop. Let's try that really quick. So we'll go in here really quick, and we'll go ahead and put the if statement in there. We're going to say if, and our condition if, let's see, the number of shots, because we want to say we shot off 3 times, let's say. So if the number of shots equals 3, then we want to set bullseye to true. So basically we should be able to take, this time when we loop it through, this if condition will change our condition for the exiting the do while loop. So we'll go ahead and execute, and should be able to get 3 shots off on this one. So what we'll do, actually we're going to do this without an if statement, because that concludes nesting and we don't want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll go down here and we'll say do this while the number of shots fired is less than 4. So that means, well, so we'll do it 3 times. Should do it 3 times, and then we'll execute it, and there you go. Since it actually remember it loops through 1 time every time, so actually it exited on the when it reached this 4, which was not less than 4. However, so it actually did fire the 4th time. So that's where when you do your testing for your loops, you want to make sure. So if we want to execute only 3 times, we would say do all that until while it's less than 3. So it actually exit when it reaches 3. So that's a good example of showing you that your numbers got to match up. So in this do while loop, remember it always gets executed 1 time. So basically it's going to become 1, it's going to loop through, become 2, loop through, and it's going to become 3. The stuff actually executed, and then it was no longer less than 3, so it exited the do while loop. So that's why you got to test your do while loops while you're creating them to make sure your script runs the way you expect it to. We hope you enjoyed this video segment on looping statements in Daz Scripting. We hope that you play around with the for, the while, and the do while statements, and get more experience at them, so when you build more advanced script later on, everything will make more sense. Have a great day.